Okay, so here we are talking a little bit of electricity, and this setup, this is where the bed sits in our cabin, and this setup is something that we started doing on our guest cabins where we actually rent them out, which by the way is a pretty good source of income if you're looking at ways to add income to your property, and codes allow you to do it anyway, is nightly rentals. And we started putting in this kind of a setup because everybody's got a phone and everybody wants a light by the sides of their bed, and so we started putting in these outlets with the USB ports on them right next to each side of the bed. So there's one on each side. There's also a light switch on each side that will turn on a light on each side of the bed as well. And that's been one of the highest rated compliments that we've got is, oh, it's so good that you thought about doing that right beside the bed so people can plug their phones and all of that in. Now, as you know, this cabin is partially off-grid and partially on-grid, and this circuit here is one of the ones that is fed strictly 100% off-grid. That comes from the battery banks and the solar panels and the inverter. So this one is something that there's no option on. The only option is if for some reason we lose our solar, is to plug in a generator to it, or we've got random plugins around the cabin that you can plug into the grid if you needed to. But these are strictly off the solar plant. So I'm getting ready to wire the switch in here, and you know, I don't want to try to run a class on how to do electrical wiring. It's not that terribly complicated, and I usually tell people that these wires are like highways. There's one from home that goes out, and then there's a lane coming back, and the black wire is the wire that feeds hot electricity. That's the one going out to wherever the destination is. The white one is the returning wire, and that's the lane coming back. If you think about it that way, that's kind of how when I first got started, how I would solve the problem of, you know, what wires go where and why, is just kind of followed it like a highway system or something like that. And you know, that will solve most of the questions that you have about wiring. But what I would recommend doing is just get a book if you want to try to tackle it yourself. AC wiring is not that complicated, especially if all you're dealing with is switches, outlets, lights, and that kind of a thing. 110 AC is really very simple, easy to learn. 220 is a little bit intimidating, but it's not much more difficult. So anyway, I'm going to wire up a switch here, and so thinking of the highway, okay, we're trying to get to the light that's up there. So this is the hot coming in, so from the electrical panel. So as it's traveling through here, trying to get to there, it has to go through something that turns it on and turns it off, which is the switch. So the switch goes in here. On one side of the switch, all this does is open the circuit and close the circuit. And then, so it goes in here, comes out here, on up to the light, and then as it's returning, it just has to go all the way back to the box. So what that means is the two white ones just get connected together, so there's a uninterrupted travel all the way back to the box. The two black ones are the ones that get opened and closed. It's like a toll gate or a drawbridge, okay? Drawbridge goes open, can't get through. Drawbridge comes closed, you go on through. And that's exactly the way this is, and that's exactly the way the switch works. When the switch is in the on position, the drawbridge is closed. When you flip it to the off position, the drawbridge opens up and you can't get through. That's as simple as it gets. Don't you love the simplicity of really easy explanations? I'm stripping the black ones just a little bit further because they have to have a loop bent into them attached to the screws. The white ones are just going to get a wire nut on there, so they don't have to be stripped back quite as far. I'll go ahead and connect those together right now. Shove those to the back of the box where they'll be out of the way. Okay, then the two ground wires, they just need to be tied together with each other and then one of them will be hooked right to the ground screw on the switch. Okay, so here's the incoming hot. This is one side of the drawbridge. This is the outgoing hot. This is the other side. And they go right on there like that. And there is a right side up and an upside down to this. When you have it this way, the on is in the down position and the words are upside down. So make sure you get them in the right way where the words on the switch actually are correct. So what we've got here right now is the hot wire coming in, feeds this. So that's going to be hot all the time. And then there's a jumper that goes from this up to the switch, which turns our light on and off up there. Okay, so here we're up putting a light in here, and right now we're using a temporary light. It's called a pigtail, and it's not the permanent fixture. It just hangs there and has the light there so we can use it until we finish the wall up and get ready to mount a permanent light. Pigtail, thinking of the terms of a highway, again, we have a inbound lane and an outbound lane. Electricity is coming up through the black wire here, goes into the black wire here. This is the destination. This is where it's trying to get to, and then it returns on the white wire. So that's all it's going, is going black to black and white to white up here, and that will complete that circuit, at least as far as these boxes here are concerned. Right now, I'm not going to bother to hook up the ground wire to anything up here because there's no ground wire on these pigtails, and there's really nothing to ground inside here. When we get the light fixture up here, there will be a grounding screw on the light fixture that will hook that ground wire to. But for now, it's just going to go inside the box and out of the way. Okay, so right now that's ready to use. Now I usually wire my circuits from the very last thing on the line all the way back to the box. That way I can leave all the other electricity on without turning off the circuit on and off and on and off. So I'll wire, this is the very last thing on this circuit, so I'll wire it all the way back to the box, and the very last thing I'll do is shut the breaker off and connect it to the box, and then turn it on and everything will be live. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like and a share, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell.